Today, I am so excited to be speaking to a true journalist and broadcaster. Yes, since graduating with a degree in broadcast journalism, she has carved out her own lane in the industry as a writer for the Metro, a podcast creator and host for the Edinburgh TV Festival and the breast cancer charity, and an inspiration to women across the nation, encouraging them to be confident queens like herself. Her talents have shone from the papers to our screens as she has made headlines this year, shining a spotlight on what was once a taboo topic but is now empowering us to discuss big boobs. I'm so excited to speak to the host and presenter of Channel 4's Untold documentary, My Big Boobs, the one, the only, Jackie Adedeji.
Remel, I love the way you went, big boobs. Love that. Thank you for having me on the mainstream.
I'm so happy to have you. So welcome to the mainstream, Jackie.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really good. I'm like, honestly, I have to say, the fact that you have actually told me that you're a fan of the mainstream warms my heart.
Oh my God, yeah.
So then to have you on as well is like bonus points for me. So this is going to be fun.
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on the mainstream.
Because you're in the mainstream, honey.
Oh yeah, I am, aren't I?
You are, right? You are. So, of course, I've loved watching your journey over the last few years, particularly watching you on the screen, especially. And I do actually find it hilarious that when we actually met, maybe like a year ago, we thought we'd known each other for years.
Yeah, I know. Because it was at the Mobos, right?
God knows.
It was at the Mobos, and I think it was like, hi. We were like, hi, this is weird, because we like know each other from Instagram, but we haven't actually met in person.
And I genuinely, I'm sure I made a reference to, didn't we go out for drinks? And I'm like, wait, that never happened.
I know, I know. But I feel like I've known you for years because you've been doing this for such a long time. You just feel like I just feel like it's weird. The internet makes you feel like you know people.
100%.
And you don't.
And we had so many interactions with like Edinburgh TV Festival and all that kind of stuff. So I think this is way overdue.
Yeah.
And it is nice that we actually, I mean, obviously we know each other already, but now we get to know each other even more after this chat, which I'm so excited about. So let's talk a little bit about the journey here, because I believe you are the true definition of a media babe.
Oh,
especially because we did the same course.
We did.
Broadcast journalism.
BJ.
We are BJs, which is perfect. And I definitely stalked you on your LinkedIn. I'm so obsessed.
Are you a LinkedIn stalker?
I'm so obsessed with LinkedIn.
Love that.
So when I saw that all your credentials, I was like,
oh wow.
I was like, this girl's good. So let's talk a little bit about before the BJ life, young Jackie. Did you actually know what you wanted to be when you was growing up?
Always. From when I was about 7 years old.
Are you serious?
Yeah, because like a lot of people, I was watching SMTV Live with Anton Deck, Kat Deely, CDU UK, CBBC, you know, when Disney Channel actually used to have proper hosts on there.
100.
I was watching that and being like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that. I want to do that. I always knew from when I was 7. And actually when I did a play in year 3, and it was 101 Dalmatians, and we were on stage. I was a Dalmatian just like scuttling across the floor. It's not like I had a big role. And like, I loved it. I loved being on stage. Like, even though I had no speaking parts, I just loved the energy and the buzz. And I was like, this is what I want to do.
Oh, I love
so
that.
that's kind of what, that's what started me off.
I love that. That's a very similar. See, I feel like we're going to have this moment where we're like,
yes,
we were watching the same things and doing the same
100.
kind of things to get here, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to know, were your parents encouraging of this? Because we met your parents on your Channel 4 doc, which was such a blessing to just see them support you in that way. But I didn't know your dad was a pastor or is a pastor.
I'm a PK. I'm a pastor's kid.
No way. I love that. So were they encouraging of your creative
always
aspiration? Really?
Yeah, always. Yeah, always. They were never like, my parents were not your typical Nigerian parents. So they weren't, it wasn't like lots of my Nigerian friends, like, you know, their parents were like, you have to be a doctor and a lawyer and an engineer.
Of course.
My parents were like, do what you want to do, like do what's creative. So I would say, look, I want to get into performing arts and stuff. And so my parents were like, okay, we'll go for those kind of courses or do this or do that. So it was very much that, because my parents are both creatives, even though their jobs aren't creative, they're both creative. So they very much encouraged me and my sisters to just do things that were creative and colourful.
Oh, I love that so much. And okay, obviously they are allowing you to be creative.
Yeah.
But you said PK.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a pastor's daughter, did you feel pressure to actually maybe I should just be a good Christian girl, or maybe I should just be I don't know. What are the pressures? Like, you know, your church looking at you as like, oh, what's she doing?
Do you know what? I didn't have those pressures. I think I always knew that this was what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be, I mean, I'm a big Spice Girls fan. That's what
Okay.
I grew up on. So loud, proud, like love me or hate me. Like that was always like, I always loved women who were just like strong and just didn't care what people thought. And so for me, I felt like that's my dad's job as a pastor. That's not my job. That's not necessarily my ministry.
That's good.
So I knew from early on that, okay, but actually I think being a pastor's kid made me a better journalist because...
Tell me how.
Yeah, because sometimes I think, I mean, this might be a conversation we have to have after the podcast, but, you know, I've been to many churches in my life and, you know, also many, you know, celebrity churches too.
Oh.
And so there were certain things over the years, not now, but at least when I was growing up, that the maths wasn't mathsing with certain things. So as a kid, you know, children always ask questions.
Yeah.
Why is this? Why is that? Why is this? Why? So I was always doing that. And my parents were like, hey, can you just like, I was like, okay, but why did pastor, because I saw pastor, you know, or why did this auntie, like, it was always that kind of thing. And someone would be like, whose child is this? Because I was always like,
You was the church reporter.
oh, I literally was. I was always asking questions. Or, in fact, there was something I asked, and then I think someone reported me to my mom, or I was always very curious because I was like, well, why? Also, even sometimes when we would get taught stuff in Sunday school, I'd ask, especially if it was to do with love or like sex or whatever.
Yeah.
I would ask. You know, I remember asking my dad when I was like, I don't know, like 12, like, why do people have sexless marriages? And he's like, oh my God, like, what is happening? Because, you know, I was
deep.
Yeah, and he's just like, and he would respond, but I was always so curious about, and also I think when you grow up in an environment where you're almost kind of like told, this is what you have to think, this is what you believe. I obviously believe in God, but there's a lot of you need to think this way and this is how you need to be.
Yeah.
You then start to think, okay, well, what if I'm that, and what if I'm this, and what if, do you know what I mean? So it made me actually curious, and maybe if my dad wasn't a pastor, I think I still would have done what I'm doing, but maybe I would have done it in a different way. I definitely had to, what I will say is fight for my identity, you know, and also, you know, I'm talking about tits, right? And of course, when I first started doing that, like my dad was like horrified.
Oh, I can imagine.
Like horrified. Like you are like WhatsApp essays, WhatsApp dissertations,
dear.
bringing shame on the family. Like,
Really?
Oh yeah. But like, it was okay because I said, you'll understand one day why I'm doing this.
I mean, that is beautiful that you said they will understand, because now that the doc is out and the fact that they featured
And who's bloody on it?
Literally, that says so much how much, like, you know, the support is still there. So that's beautiful. They came around.
No, they came around. And also, Remel, as you know, when you have a vision for your life, people do not have to understand it.
Oof.
As long as you get it, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
So if people are confused, it's like, oh, you'll see real soon. Oof. That's what it always was.
Slow down, girl. Slow down. Damn.
Well, you know, I'm a PK, so I preach a little.
You gonna preach today? Jeez.
I preach a little.
I felt that already. Look, what's the time? Jeez. All right, let's keep going. This is good. I feel like you definitely have a way with your words. And you... But you express this initially through drama, performing arts, but writing. You are a good writer.
Oh, thanks,
which is incredible. And it seemed that that was your first kind of like creative work-wise career outlet, because like you was writing for your student paper from college and uni and all that kind of stuff. So where did the actual idea to actually get into presenting come from, whether it was from performing arts or writing, or like, you know, I feel like as creatives we can do it all, but where does the presenting part come from?
Do you know what? I've always done presenting, but that just wasn't the thing that was like, that kind of made me first. So basically, I used to do like roving reporter work for a company called Winkball. Basically, they couldn't thrive now because you have TikTok, but they send you to events and you just do Vox Pops. It's like this kind of stuff, and they pay you like 50 quid
Fair enough.
per event. And it was actually not bad money at the time.
That's all right.
And I did a series called Get Fit with Jackie. Like I did loads of different bits on there. And I used to work behind the scenes in TV, so I used to do stand-in work. I was on this show with Amanda Holden called I've Got Something to Tell You as one of her on-screen waitresses. So I'd always done bits and bobs, but it wasn't like in your face.
Yeah.
It was almost so niche, and like if you see it, you see it, but most people probably won't.
Right. Okay.
But the writing was the first thing for me that kind of gave me a voice.
Amazing.
In terms of like a public voice.
Yeah.
So, writing for the Metro and, like Refining 29 and Stylist and things like that have really helped me in terms of just like because I mean, I feel like in this industry, you can't just be like, I want to be a presenter. Like, what have you done? No, it's true.
It's true. You're not
like
wrong.
people are like, okay, but
where can I see you?
yeah, what's
channel?
happening? Like, where is? And for me, I was like, okay, cool. Like, if I do this, then it's almost like you have a calling card. That's what they call it, right?
Okay.
So then you're not just like a random. You're now a writer because you've written. Do you know what I mean? So it's like Jackie who writes.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You almost like need to have a thing.
Yeah.
And then you can't just like show up and be like. So for me, writing was a good way to just be like, oh, I have a voice and this does get engagement and people are interested or whatever.
Okay.
So writing was always like a great avenue for me. But then I think doing the podcasting and stuff then put me in a different direction, which was good. And then I suppose I'm like juggling both in a good way.
Yeah.
But it's been I'm not even going to lie. It has been a hustle.
Girl.
A hustle and like, I'm tired.
Me too.
Like, oh my God.
But the fact that you have persevered and you're here and your voice is being heard, is testament to it's gonna work out in the end.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I mean? And you're only just getting started, might I add. So, and you've already done so much more because your LinkedIn is looking like a whole shopping list of
Not too much.
of credentials, which is beautiful. But kind of going back to what you said, anyone can be a presenter now. No, Jackie, stop. It's true though.
I'm such an auntie.
You are auntie, but we'll do it together because we've got the TikTok stars, we've got the YouTube stars. No shade, guys. No shade. We love that there's so many creatives out there, but it is hard to know that we went to uni. We got a degree.
Right.
We studied broadcast journalism. We did it like, I guess you could say, we played the long game in that sense in terms of getting the degree and all that kind of stuff. So was you always conscious of, I need to get the qualifications, or did you think, I could just wing it?
No, I knew I needed to get the qualifications. I was obsessed, and I still am. I'm obsessed with the media. Like, I read so many articles. I'm always reading and researching stuff all the time. And I knew that, right, if I want to be a presenter or a journalist, I need to be, like, qualified in this.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, oh, and of course, as you know, our broadcast journalism is like NCTJ qualified.
Yeah.
So you literally are a trained journalist.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, I want to be like the best of the best at what I'm doing and be qualified in that.
100%.
Rather than just be someone that's like, oh, I want to be a presenter. I didn't like my course, I'm not going to lie, but I found it really hard.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Yeah, it was really hard.
I'm so glad you said that because I thought I was the only one that was like, raw, this is...
It was hard. I was always resitting stuff in the summer. Like,
I didn't
found
do
it
as
bloody
good as I
hard.
could have.
Yeah, me too.
In my opinion.
I got a 2-2.
Oh, same girl.
Did you?
Well done.
Yes, 2-2 crew.
We made it.
But to be honest, on my course, I'm the only one doing TV present. Like,
oh my God, it's true. Anyway.
Yeah, no, what?
We are throwing so much shade, but not in a bad way, because we all worked hard for our qualifications.
No, we did.
And regardless of the grade, it's what you do with it.
But this is the thing, right? When I finished uni, I already had work experience at Global.
Oh, sick.
I was one of the street stars.
Yes, you was a street star.
Yeah, so by the time I had found out what my degree was, I didn't really care because I was like,
thanks.
And I had a job I got a job at a TV production company. So I was like, isn't this kind of what you go to uni for?
Yeah.
And I already had that. And I do remember my dad saying to me that, some people, their skill is like being super academic. And some people, their skills is actually people, being a people person. That
Yeah.
is a skill. And that's not something that your university can measure.
You can't teach that.
Yeah. So he was like, that is your skill. So that's
Yeah.
what you should just focus on. And he's like, but you've got the degree and that's great. And I was like, cool.
It always helps to back it up.
does.
Yeah.
It definitely does. But yeah, I think it's such a different world now. I don't think people who want to become presenters now need to play the long game, because you can literally start today on on TikTok. Obviously you've got to be very good at it,
Of course.
but in a year's time your life could be completely different. You could be getting brand deals. You don't have to do the whole hustling, pitching for your life. So it's a different, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's good.
Because I think when you've actually like grinded for something, you appreciate it so much more when it happens. You're
Absolutely.
like, I deserve this. There's
Yeah.
no imposter syndrome. What's imposter syndrome when I've been grinding for you know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
respectfully, this is what was going to happen. It's like you've got to have that. And you have that because you grinded so much. Whereas maybe if things were coming like this and like that, and you wouldn't really be able to like feel it as much because it's just like coming so quickly.
Yeah. I love that. And you definitely grinded, because even looking at what you've done, you already lined up the work experience. You was a Capital Street star, and even all through uni, you hosted numerous student radio shows, which I think is so sick.
Yeah.
You had like so many, like you was a duo.
Yeah. Oh my
In
God,
Vision,
no.
Out of Vision, like you literally did everything.
Yeah.
You had a fashion segment in the university paper
Yeah.
as well. It seems like you was very conscious about creating opportunities for yourself as well as going like applying. So what were you actually doing to put yourself out there?
When I was in university?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I mean, I was, like, up for anything. I was like, I would do anything. I mean, I worked in a prison when I was in uni as well. And to be honest, I always wanted to do things that would help me learn more about people.
Amazing.
Because I thought, well, if I want to be a good journalist, I need to actually speak to people that are different from me.
True.
Because if you're only speaking to people in your circle, then it means that you can't actually converse with other people who are different.
Yeah.
So I always wanted to welcome opportunities that meant I would be in my comfort zone, but if that meant I could learn about someone. So yeah, I worked in a prison, which was actually quite scary, I'm not gonna lie.
Of course. That sounds scary.
Yeah, it was quite scary. I wouldn't do it now.
As a teenager, well, uni student. that's
Yeah, I was
quite-
20. Yeah, I wouldn't do that now. Like, I used to have nightmares.
Oh, gosh.
And then I was a student ambassador, so I would go around into different colleges and encourage lots of young people to venture into higher education, as well as like mentoring them and stuff like that. So I was always like wanting to just learn and understand like, Joe Public. Because I
Yeah.
think if you can do that, then you can kind of almost like understand the world a bit more, and like the way you actually do your work is
Makes
different.
so much sense.
Yeah. So, and I think if I didn't do all those things, I probably wouldn't even like, have done a documentary in the way that I did it, because I wanted to make sure like everybody could feel seen, which is a very hard thing to do when it's just one person.
Yeah. We are definitely going to be talking about the doc. But sticking on the, putting yourself out there, getting opportunities. I know that you needed a show reel. Very early on.
Yeah.
Like that's part of the whole broadcast journalism thing, like get your demos, get your
Yeah.
reels, get all that kind of stuff. So what kind of content was you creating? Was you one of the Vox Pop? I mean, you mentioned the channel you worked for. Was you making Vox Pops?
I was
Or
doing
you did-
Vox Pop, doing Vox Pops in like random places. Like we'd do, like Bally Ballerson, Jumping in Balls. I did this like London loo tour. Where,
sorry, what?
Yeah, this woman, she shows you all the loos in like London, and she's like holding this toilet plunger around like this.
That is
She showed me the
disgusting.
Jubilee where the Queen used to do a poo. She's got her own security guard, and they changed the toilet seat every single time. Because,
the Queen?
Yeah, because someone would try and sell it on eBay.
Oh.
So it did, because it's like people are just weird.
So you were meeting some interesting...
I was doing some random things. So my literary show reel was full of me like on a London loo tour, like jumping into like doing speed dating with your dog, beer yoga.
All of these
like,
things I have never heard of.
random. But in London, like there's always random things.
We need to watch your show reel.
Yeah, it's like random stuff like that, and I absolutely loved it because it's like,
gosh.
like you're getting out there, you're meeting people.
Yeah.
And so I probably have like 5 show reels, but like, do we need show reels now in 2023? Like, I don't even know. Like, do people watch people's show reels? Because these times people just see a little TikTok and then they go, we want her.
That is a good question.
Like, maybe show reels is very...
Interestingly enough, a TikTok can't really translate all of your versatility like a show reel could. Or is that up for debate? I don't know.
True, but then I guess like, you almost have to be out there enough that people don't, like, they've been able to, like, make a decision on who you are.
Fair.
So then you don't need a show reel, because it's like, oh, I've seen her here and I've seen her there and she's great.
This is a plot twist on the mainstream right now, because this is like...
Yeah.
The everyone believes that the be all and end all in the, you know, creative industry as a presenter, as a, you know, radio host is get your reel out.
Yeah.
But
I don't think it is anymore.
interesting.
Because everything is a reel. Like,
literally
everything is a reel. Like,
Instagram stole that name.
Instagram's reels.
Yeah.
TikTok is reels. Like, everything is a reel. So actually,
Wow.
I don't feel like you need a show reel. What people really need to see is, like, online stuff.
Okay.
Like, I feel like that's what people want. Like, where's the link to your, like, show? Like, people just want to...
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's that. Like...
But then that's the point. It's like, when you're coming into the industry, how do you create the show? So it's almost like you need to get the little bits of experience to put together. I mean, I feel like this is a debate we need to put out there.
Also, you need money to even create the content in the first place. I think it's... I do think it's... I do think this is what I think. I think in some ways it's easier to become a presenter, but in a lot of ways it's harder, because actually if everybody's a presenter, then you have to be even more exceptional.
Poof.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it was different before, where, like, someone could be a nobody, then they get a job on Blue Peter and then they become a star overnight or whatever. Yeah. But now, like, basically everyone's got TikTok, everyone can talk to camera, whatever.
That's true.
So it's like, you literally have to be super exceptional.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it's kind of harder. But then I think if you've played the long game, then you're a bit more, you've got more tenacity. I think you're almost a bit more like, I think you can push yourself more.
Yeah.
Because you've been doing it for longer. Whereas maybe if you've just started, you might feel really intimidated by that. Loads of people are doing it, and then you're like, oh, I'm not doing it anymore.
That is some
or like maybe you do.
For thought.
Do you know what I mean? Or maybe you drop like 10 TikToks and like no one's watched it, and then you're like, oh, I'm done, I'm leaving. I'm going back to my office job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas for us, like, it's go hard or go home.
Yeah. That is...
Do you know what I mean?
Jackie, please don't upset me today with all these amazing gems, because... We're not even halfway. Like, relax.
Honestly,
innit?
I'm such a media geek.
No, but this is good, because this is why we have these discussions, because the world is changing. There's so many creatives that want to get in, but like, they might be having questions like, yeah, but my TikTok bangs. Why am I not getting booked? Baby. It isn't just about that.
Yeah. Also, who do you know?
Yeah. There's so much more to it than what meets the eye right now, which is really, really interesting. But I think it's amazing that when you did graduate from Nottingham Trent, I almost went there.
Did you?
It was between that and Leeds.
Okay.
But
Leeds
I went
my
to
third.
Leeds. Oh, all right.
Sorry, Birmingham City was my second.
Oh, I don't think the course was there when I wanted to go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because for some reason, broadcast journalism was only in a few places.
Yeah.
But it's
probably everywhere now.
Done wonders for so many people. I know quite a few presenters that have done the course. Did you actually have a plan? Like, obviously you said you had the Capital Street Stars lined up, you had the internships and stuff like that lined up, but was you like, right, got to get my show on MTV and then I'm going to be famous? Like, did you see it like that?
No, I knew I was going to do this.
Yeah.
So I realised when I finished uni, I got a TV job and stuff like that, and then I kind of became freelance again. I realised that the TV industry was changing.
Yes.
So you couldn't be a generic presenter anymore. You needed product, you needed a niche, you needed something.
Yeah.
So as I was like writing and things like that, I realised, okay, cool, I need to tap into something that feels like me. It took me a very long time, believe it or not, even though they were sitting on my chest the whole time. It's that feeling of like, okay, what do I want my message in the world to be? I always wanted to do things of impact.
Yeah.
But it's like, how? Like, where do you start? What's the thing?
Yeah.
And then I just started writing about having big boobs, and then and then I obviously started podcast, and then it kind of like, but I always knew I was going to do something like this.
Amazing.
I probably didn't realise I'd be doing it at the early stages of my career, I guess.
Okay.
And maybe I would have done this, maybe if the industry was, the way it used to be, I might have done this like, like, for example, I use Davina McCall as an example.
I was literally going to say Davina.
She's like, now she's a bit older, she can do like menopause and those topics.
Yep.
Whereas I'm starting off with boobs like as a sort of factual entertainment-y thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll get more into entertainment, and then, do you know what I mean? It's like almost like I'm working backwards in a way. because we live in a very like niche, not for everyone, but I think we live in a very kind of niche dominated industry. Like, what's your thing? Like,
What's
when
your
people think
thing?
of you, what comes to mind? Because you cannot be generic, because
Yeah.
essentially everybody's generic.
Yeah.
So you have to have a thing. And that's the thing that can be quite hard, I think, sometimes, because you don't want to become a spokesperson. You want to present. And it's like, there's a fine line. Do you know what I mean?
I never
And then
thought
you
of it
become
as
an activist. And you're like, well, I'm not really an activist. I just, you know what I mean? There's like a fine line
Yeah.
where it's a very like,
Do you feel like you're...
no.
Okay, good. I was going to
I
say.
think I've done certain things, even like moving forward, things that I'm doing are a bit like, because I'm also trying to change that perception of me slightly, because I'm a bit like, you don't want people to think like that's all you can talk about.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Got
Like
you.
we're actually like trained and skilled.
Yes.
Like, hello.
Yeah.
So, you know.
I'm a journalist,
Yeah,
darling.
yeah. I was like, I'm a journalist, darling. So there's still certain things. But yeah, in my mind, I knew like I was going to do something like this. I just didn't realize it was going to be now.
Fair. I mean, I love that you had the foresight of, you know, like you said, impact. That's such an important thing. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing it with purpose, which is...
Oh my God, I cannot do it. You know what? I cannot do it any other way.
Yeah.
I just don't think, I think it's like you either have to choose impact or relevance, right?
Ooh.
Because it's...
Are you just going to chase the trends?
Right.
Or are
Right.
you doing it because you really love
Right.
it?
And that might, and the impact might not get numbers. But just because something
facts.
isn't talked about now doesn't mean that like whatever you do won't be the cultural conversation in 2 years.
Very true.
So you almost just have to like choose the thing that it feels the most honest and the most you, and like follow that. Do you know what I mean? Because I feel like following relevancy will not fulfill me.
I agree.
Like,
I
I
agree.
don't think you know what I mean? I just don't think I can.
Literally, we already said we're tired. We can't be running these races, chasing everything. So
Right, do you know what I mean? I just, I'm like, and also I just feel like I'm at an age where I'm like, I don't want to.
you want to live a soft life.
Yeah, I do.
You are such a soft life girl as well.
I just,
You want to enjoy yourself.
yeah, I want to enjoy myself, and I just think that I've never been like someone who's like that obsessed with being like relevant. Do you know what I mean?
It's really
Like
important.
chasing it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Because I feel like some people want to be famous.
Yeah.
Some people want to create amazing, impactful stories.
Yeah.
And that's...
Do you want to
where-
be famous?
Nah. I
Yeah.
have no desire to be famous.
Yeah.
Like, I want to love my job
Yeah.
and be good at it.
Yeah.
But I have no intention of being chased down the road.
Oh my God. When you're like coming out of the gym and they're like, Remel, over here. And you're like, oh my God, guys.
The joke
Yeah, no
is...
pictures, please.
The joke is, like, majority of the time, I look like I just woke up. So I couldn't...
Oh, you're the perfect famous person there, then.
The paps would love
they'd love
my...
you.
Like, look at her.
Oh my God.
Looking mash up. Like, I don't want that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
just
yeah.
catch me on a good day. I'm ready
Yeah.
for my photo now.
Yeah.
For my interview, and that's it. Like, that's where I'm at. How about
Yeah.
you? Has a fame ever crossed your mind?
I want to be well known, but I don't necessarily want to be. I mean, it's hard because it's like, well, in today's climate, like if you're famous, then like if you're not famous, then where are you on the spectrum of like?
But I
But
think,
in a TV from a TV lens,
yeah,
I mean.
for presenters, it's different though.
Yeah.
Because you can be famous.
Yeah,
But then you can also be, there's
yeah.
Jackie. Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Jackie.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I prefer that. You don't have, I love your show, Jackie.
Or like a mature. You know what? I want a mature fame,
What's a mature fame?
like a Charlene White or like a
Okay.
Andy Oliver. Like
Yes.
it's like you're in Tesco and they're like, hello, and you're like, you're right, babe. But like, do you know what I mean? But like,
Yes.
you'll get packed at the right events, but no one's following me to buy some oat milk in the morning.
That's what I want to.
Like a mature
Also.
fame.
Mature
Do you know what I mean?
fame.
Where the cabbie's like, oh, why aren't you on BBC One early? And you're like, yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that's fine.
Where are you off to now?
Yeah.
Shops?
Yeah, but not like where you're like, or maybe like little photos at a festival when you're like, just get Egatini. Like, so maybe like, yeah.
I can't
like
believe
mature fame.
We've never had a conversation like this on the mainstream where we decide what kind of fame
Yeah. But it's a
would
real
love to have.
thing. It's like
true.
a bit like, you know, it's just like, it's not too much.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's when you want it. It's when you want it.
I'll write this down. This is what we're...
When you want, when the dress is giving, the makeup is like glistening, the hair is laid, and the cameras are out. It's like, honey, I've arrived. And it's like, oh, let me give it to you from the back. Oh, that's the fame I want.
I'm with you.
And then like, Jackie, just one more. I was like, oh, okay. And then you start running. Sorry, guys, I've got to go. Thank you so much.
You have finished me. Yes, that's the fame we aspire to.
Mature fame, honey.
Mature fame. I love it. Well, she's doing it. She's getting booked. She's getting busy. We're working on that mature fame. So let's reflect on the real early days. So you mentioned the £50.
Yes, wink
like
ball.
wink ball.
Wink ball, I know.
Bless them.
I know.
What an unusual.
Very unusual. People ask, like, why is it all... I'm like, dunno.
I just work.
I'm just here to just get paid, yeah.
So that was, I guess, probably some of your early presenting paid gigs. Did you ever have the query of like, oh, how much should I actually be getting paid for this?
Do you know what? I didn't have that until about a couple of years ago when I started getting... Yeah, so when I started actually, you know, Women's Hour get in touch, or I don't know, like radio stations want you to come and talk about something, then I'd be like, if they don't actually mention money, I'm like, should I be getting paid? Like, and so then I would ask, and then they're like, oh yeah. And I'm like, well, if I didn't ask, then they would have, you know what I mean? So then it was that kind of stuff. Because I do feel like the conversation, like there are not enough conversations around like rates.
Of course not.
In our industry, because
it almost feels like they don't want us to know.
Yeah.
Like, don't say anything until they ask.
And I'm like, and I want to add black tax onto it. Because I'm like,
what's that?
Well, I just think that, I mean, even in the influencer world, there is obviously like a racial pay gap.
100%.
So then there definitely is one within us where we are.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I say black tax is just that, like, I'll just be adding an extra, I mean, not me, but probably my agent, you know, is adding, because it probably will be not equal to someone maybe who's white and maybe even like...
Or male or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
So, but yeah, only a few years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't really... And then I was like, oh. And then when I got an agent, then that changed everything. Because I think I was definitely like shortchanging myself.
Yeah. When you meet...
I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah, when you meet the agent and they're like, well, the industry standard is... And you're like, oh. I was only charging like £150.
Right.
Well, I could add a zero.
Right.
£1,500. Cool.
It's right. It's like, hello.
Like, crazy.
Yeah.
You didn't even know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, again, you've definitely proven that you know how to get the jobs in. Like you said, you mentioned working with the Metro, Stylist Magazine, Refinery 29, so many incredible brands and like publications. And of course, I met you through the Edinburgh TV Festival when you was a coordinator, but you doubled as a presenter, which I absolutely love, because you hosted their official podcast, which you created.
Yes.
I rate you so much for that. Say It Loud, interviewing TV talent, and then, of course, the legend that is Whoopi Goldberg.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you push for those opportunities? Because they are definitely opportunities that you created for yourself, especially with Say It Loud. You know, I'm sure a lot of people are scared to go from the coordination role to presenter role. So how was you kind of like letting them know, by the way, I'm a presenter? Like, what was the kind of conversations to get those opportunities on screen?
Okay. So I knew that I wanted to do presenting. I always knew that's what I wanted to do. But I got to a point where when I left the TV industry, I realised I would say to my producers on TV shows when I was like a researcher, I'd be like, oh, can I be a stand-in presenter, whatever, if the presenter doesn't show up? Because that's how I used to read, like, that's how Dermot O'Leary got the job and whatever. Okay. So I'd say that when I was, and they'd go, oh, you know, Jackie, don't worry, just sort of focus on the job, or we'll let you know, whatever. And I started to realise that it's because people just see you as your current role, right? 100%. And so I was like, okay, well, this isn't working for me. So I left the TV industry.
Yeah.
And then I was like a teaching assistant for a bit in a random school teaching.
Really?
Phonics. Yeah. And then I was like, cool. I need to meet people. Like, I need to get to the root. I don't need to meet middlemen. I need to meet the right people. Like, how am I going to do that? Yeah. Anyway, a friend had messaged me and said, Edinburgh TV Festival are looking for a talent schemes assistant, is how I started.
Okay.
And so, I mean, I was coming from a job being like, you know, a producer, and the pay was like runner's pay.
Yeah.
And I was literally at the bottom, as in like I was always buying the milk for the office, replacing the loo roll. I was doing this again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to do this because I need to like meet people. I know Edinburgh TV Festival, everyone goes there.
Of course.
So, but I also wanted to work there because I also wanted to help shape, you know, their schemes.
Yeah.
So yeah, applied for the job, got it. And then obviously they made me, you know, they had loads of interviews. And then, yeah, so what happened was, as I was doing that job, I was still writing and I was working after work. And then, and I was also doing like speed dating, hosting, etc. And then there was one time I wrote a Metro article, and I would hide the work that I do, by the way. Like I would not tell them I was doing it because I didn't want them to think I didn't care about the job.
Oh,
I'm sure look,
that's
it's
interesting.
different now, but I feel like at the time, like if you had a second job,
It was like cheating.
yeah, it was a bit like, oh, you didn't want them to think you weren't focused.
Right,
Even
I
though
got you.
I mean, that was my own misjudgment because they were so welcoming, but I just didn't say
Yeah.
anything. And then my manager must have messaged me and be like, are you like in the Metro? And I was like,
What, my other job? Yeah.
yeah, I was like, yeah. She's like, oh, it's amazing. Oh, and you know, then you come into work and everyone's like, oh, and then I just see it on the screen. I'm like, this is too much. Like I was like, and they were like, oh my God, you should have told us. And I was like, oh, like, this is just so awkward. And then I was still hiding stuff because I just felt, and then I had a good chat with my boss at the time, Campbell, and I was like, look, like, I really want to do presenting, and, you know, the New Voice Awards, they didn't have presenter categories, and I pitched
You're
it.
lying.
Yeah. they
That's
didn't.
like the hot new category now.
Yeah. Up until 2019, they did not have presenter categories.
Oh my goodness.
So I pitched for it, for debut presenter and future presenter, and they said, yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
That's a huge impact
Yeah.
that you've made in the industry, by the way.
Oh.
Because people recognise that
Well.
as the place to find rising talent.
And you know, you've got to be able to get into the fabric of these things and try and
Yeah.
shape whilst you're there, even
Let
if it's
them
not for
know
long.
what is missing.
Yeah. And so did that, and then and then obviously the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
And I got furloughed for 7 months.
Damn.
And in that time, I came up with Boob Share, with
Oh,
Global.
amazing.
And then by that time, because they obviously could see, and then I also came up with Say It Loud as well. So I was doing those two both at the same time. And then they could obviously see like, oh, okay, she's actually,
She's a real presenter.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then they obviously asked me to interview Whoopi Goldberg. And then after that, I left.
Because you were like, CV, show reel, done.
Done.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was hard to leave because I love the team. You know, when you work somewhere with
Yeah.
people. And
I mean, you still work with them now, like hosting panels and all
yeah,
that kind
I
of
guess,
stuff.
but
which is-
not like. Do you know what I mean? This is. I mean,
haven't left.
I'm always humbled when they ask me because I'm like, oh, like thank you so much because, but you know, it was working there changed everything for me.
Wow.
In so many ways,
Positively?
positively.
Good.
Nothing negative.
Good.
Because I learned how to talk to commissioners. Like not.
Yes.
Like I have no issue going up to a commissioner and like chatting. Whereas I think before you're like, oh, it's a commissioner, it's a commissioner. Whereas now, you know, because we just around those people.
Yeah, yeah.
Or sometimes they'll be emailing you being like, oh, I'd love to be on the advisory this year. And you're the one that almost gets it. Do you know what I mean? You then realise, oh, they're just people. Like,
Wow.
yeah.
The shoe is on
It
the
taught me
other
how
foot
to,
there.
it taught me
yeah.
how to move.
Yeah. That's
So I'm
amazing.
really grateful for that experience.
That's
and I
incredible.
think, you know, and it's a great thing. And obviously we met through there.
Yeah, of course. Literally.
I remember when you emailed.
Because was it something about the presenters?
Yeah.
Debut
And-
present? No,
Yeah.
not debut. I think I asked, am I eligible? And you were like,
Yeah.
Remel, you are way too qualified to be a debut presenter. And I was like, damn it.
But then I think I like emailed you and I was like, but I think I said I wanted you to get involved. I wanted you to do
Yeah,
something.
you said, I think you offered me
Yeah.
something else. And I was like, oh, me?
Yeah.
Who, me?
Did you do the
I think I was a
presenter panel?
judge.
Yes, you
I
were.
was a judge. I
You
was
were
a
on the
ju-
jury.
I was on the jury for the jury.
Yeah.
I've completely forgot about
Yeah,
that.
you're on the jury, honey.
Well, thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jackie.
So, no, because I always saw what you were doing and I wanted
Yeah.
to help. And I think at the time they like felt so separate from like people were like us.
I agree.
So now it's
I
like
agree.
intertwining that because
Yeah. Yeah, if it wasn't for you with that, the mainstream wouldn't have had collabs with the Edinburgh TV Festival or the
all you,
TV
babes,
Foundation.
but, yeah.
Thank you. But also the introduction, like, you
Yeah.
know, being welcomed into the space, is
Yeah.
it makes such a difference.
No,
So
totally.
well done for making those power moves inside
Thank you.
the organization, because
Thank
that's
you.
amazing. Now, we've talked a lot about stuff that you've done independently, but you got an agent now.
I do.
Those zeros are adding up.
Lovely
on top
Lorna.
of-
Yes.
So how important do you think it is for a presenter to have an agent?
Very
Oh.
important. But what I will say is that your agent works, but you got to work too.
True.
Because sometimes I think there's this idea that when you get an agent, right, I can relax, sit back, my agent's going to do everything, and it's not true.
What's
Like,
the jobs rolling?
yeah,
No,
you've
babe.
got to literally hustle, if not harder. Like I think of it as like you work from the front, your agent works from the back.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I
That's
see
a
it.
great way to put it.
Because actually you're a team,
Yeah.
and you're never really doing anything independently.
Yeah.
I would also say, if you're a budding presenter, I would say, like, I think I was in a big rush to have an agent really quickly.
Okay.
And actually, which is not bad, but I think it's a relationship. It's like,
Yeah.
you're basically dealing with another person that's kind of in charge of your career. And I think it's really important to, you have to be quite mature. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
To be able to, because your agent's not always going to do things that you like. And you need to be able to talk to them not from a like overly emotional perspective, but
Oh gosh, I'm always crying on the phone to my
are
manager.
you? Are you actually always crying?
Like, not because of bad things.
Okay, just
Because
'cause of
of
work.
Because of I think it's really important that your agent or manager pushes you to make the decisions that are really
Right, of course.
for you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's been times where I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want. And then
Yeah.
she's like, well, babe, call me tomorrow and we'll discuss it again. Like, sleep on it, pray on
Yeah,
it, whatever
yeah,
you need
yeah,
to
yeah.
do.
Oh, that's
And
such great advice.
Literally, because I'm like, oh, actually, I'm not sure if I'm ready to make this big life decision. And like you said,
Yeah.
the relationship is important. Having that
Totally,
conversation.
but you have to be like mature enough to be able to like actually like sustain, because it could just be, because remember, like, our agents are not our therapists, do you know what I mean? There's like a fine line.
Yeah,
They have their
it's
own
true.
boundaries, so you almost have to be mature enough to recognize like what it is. Like, they're not your parent, they're not your carer, like
Yeah.
they're this additional person in your life.
Yeah,
And so it's just having the maturity to understand that, because I'm sure there are a lot of agents out there where their client literally thinks they're their therapist, and it's like they're trying to work out what do you know what I mean? Because
That's crazy.
it is so
It's true.
It is such a, like, it's so sensitive because it's our dreams.
It is sensitive.
So it's like, you know, and sometimes I think it's hard because we put a lot of pressure on agents. I don't know how, one of my good friends, Mindy, as you know,
Yeah.
she's an agent, and I'm always like, I don't know how you do it, because I feel like talent, like, we're actually just like chaotic.
We're babies.
Like,
We
on a
need
Monday
holding.
morning, full, any news on this, any news on this, any news on that, like, they've not had their Cheerios. Like, it's just so unhinged. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Is this how you talk to your agent?
no, it's not, but I'm like, just doing it in a dramatic way.
Jackie, we need to discuss this.
No, but do you know what I mean? It's actually quite unhinged the way you just like come at them.
Yeah.
Do you not think?
I mean, I've never done that, but
How do you speak to her? Maybe I'm just unhinged then. How do you speak to her?
just checking in, just following up.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah. That's
Yeah?
kind of what I do. Yeah, but we
Cool.
chat. We go
Okay,
for
cool.
drinks.
Just checking.
No, yeah. But I just feel like I am like, any news on this, any news. So sometimes
Yeah,
it's like,
I
oh,
get
am I
you.
annoying? But like, you also
No,
like,
but
you
I
know.
think, like you said, it's a relationship. You have the expectation that you're going to
Yeah.
speak regularly.
Yeah.
And I think for some people that have agents that they don't speak to regularly, you need to really
Oh, I couldn't even cope with that. Like, we
That's-
need to basically speak like a good 2, 3, 4 times.
you need to communicate with
Yeah.
your agent so they know where you're at, you know where
Yeah.
they're at,
Yeah.
and like what's the
And
plan.
brain farts. I think if you can have a brain fart with your agent, that's
Yeah.
really good. Like, sometimes I'll be like, I've got a brain fart, like, I just need to like, and she's like, right, I'm listening, like, it's a podcast. I'll just be like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that?
That's good.
And that's really important, because you need that, you know, I think it's really hard to find, I think, a good agent, like, because everybody's different, and you need to find someone that's like, gets your vibe. And I think
100%.
that's the really hard part, because sometimes you might think someone gets your vibe, and then maybe they have a different idea of like what kind of talent you should be, and you're like, that's not really what I'm trying to be.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like they need to
have to
actually
know.
understand like
Yeah.
what you are.
Exactly that.
And that's really, you know, and you also have to feel empowered to tell your agent like, I'm not into that.
Yeah,
Or this
yeah,
is
yeah.
this is what I'm trying to do. Because I know a lot of people with agents who they feel like they cannot even like
talk to
talk
them,
to the
yeah.
agent. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's so crazy to me.
That's not a relationship.
No,
at
it's
all.
not.
That's
And you would not be like that with your, in a relationship with your, girlfriend, boyfriend. So it's like you've got to have the communication.
exactly. I totally agree. I love that. Well, I mean, from early we can tell that you are a PK. This girl can preach, and you have actually made that part of your career, being such an incredible mentor, confidence coach. And I feel like you've always been empowering women to be their best selves,
Yeah.
but also most importantly, be proud, curve queens, and
Yeah.
like confidence, oozing it from
Yes. Everywhere.
every
Every
literally.
wobble, every jiggle.
So where did this come from? Because I love that you're so unapologetic and that you want to kind of pass this on to others. So where's that?
I'm always in my bra and pant. It came from, I think, many years of feeling like I was, ashamed of myself.
Oh,
like,
wow.
because I think growing up having big boobs, your dad's a pastor, there's a lot of shame that I think, especially in our communities, that they don't realize, oh, dress decent, or like, oh, like, why are you wearing that, or that's too revealing, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm just wearing something, I'm not trying to do anything. So there's a lot of judgment early on, and that made me feel really confused and conflicted about who I was. And it felt like the only time people had anything to say to me was about changing something, because clearly I was making lots of people, uncles and aunties, feel uncomfortable, or they would report me, oh, she's wearing this. So then, there's that famous quote, no one can make you feel inferior without your consent.
Oh, wow. That ain't famous to me, but I'm going to write that down.
Yeah, Eleanor Roosevelt.
Okay.
So I started to realise when I went to uni that I actually didn't feel like shit about myself. I realised that people were making me feel shit. So if I separate my the way I feel about myself from what they say to me, I realise, where I'm standing, I'm actually good. Mm-hmm. It's just this noise. So if I separate myself from the noise, I can truly start to hear my voice. So when I started doing that, I realized that, it's obviously not as simple as that. It's a process. But as I started doing that, I started to feel more confident in my own skin.
Yeah.
Not just inside, but actually outside. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what? Because someone might say to you like, oh, your belly's getting big. But you might be like, I like the jiggle.
What's your problem?
Full stop.
Yeah.
And that can sometimes make you feel like, oh, like maybe I should. But if you weren't feeling that way before, do you know what I mean? It's so easy for people to get in your heads. And for me,
So true.
that's why. And also I think like, even as a black woman, I think there's also this like, which I think I don't have, but I could feel it when I was younger. This like almost like good girl trope of like being really well behaved and being like, not being mischievous and just like standing in line and and I'm like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to be who I am and be free in myself.
Definitely.
Whatever that looks like to me. So that's kind of, why I am the way I am. And I'm like, because I just think when you've been punched down on a lot, you want to start to gravitate towards things that make you feel more alive, and you want to tap into who you are away from what other people's like preconceived notions are about you. So that's why I like want to celebrate people, and I'm like, love yourself, and like, like yourself. Like I'm literally best friends with myself.
I love that.
I'm like,
That
no,
is
because
beautiful.
RuPaul said it. If you don't love yourself, how the hell you gonna love somebody else?
Can I get an amen?
Amen.
That's right.
So it's really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I think for me, I am the way I am. I'm like, you know what? No one is going to make me feel crap anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just going to channel that energy into being a positive person and enjoying myself.
Beautiful.
So I'm also starting a newsletter about it. So
Oh, okay. I'm gonna sign up, girl.
more than a
I need
handful
this.
Substack.com.
Yes. Oh, I'm here for it. Well, this is exactly why so many people have fallen in love with you since you've released
thank you.
your incredible podcast, Boob Share, but of course, Channel 4's Untold, My Big Boobs documentary. That was so powerful.
Oh,
I know
thank you.
so many women who have
Really?
felt seen,
Wow.
have actually looked into how they can look after themselves or get care for, dealing with back conditions or all kinds of conditions to do
Amazing.
with having big boobs. So well done. Huge congratulations on that
Thanks,
documentary.
Remel.
Like I loved watching it.
Oh, thank you.
And I just think it's really important that that was something that you are advocating for.
Yeah,
Because
thank you.
it's something that's really, like I said at the beginning, it's quite taboo.
Yeah.
No one likes talking about boobs. And of course, it's super personal for you because you were even reflecting on, should I get a breast
Yeah.
reduction?
Oh my
Should I
gosh.
not? And all that. The fact that you let us into that world, because we see you celebrating big boobs, but then you actually questioned, oh, should I?
Yeah.
What should I do? So how did that doc actually come about?
Good question. So, shout out to Simeon Brown. He's the breast. Do you know Simeon?
Yeah, I haven't actually met him, but I know he's incredible like
He's
journalist
such an
and
icon.
doc and yeah.
He puts the I in icon.
Aw.
So I actually met him at the TV festival because he was doing the Louis Theroux, which you were.
Oh, stop. I was a
You
finalist.
nearly won. Yeah, you nearly
I was
won.
a finalist, yeah.
And
he was the host.
yeah.
So he broke my heart, but it's all right.
But
we
you
love
know
you,
what? You
Simeon.
can say that you were like that's a quite good thing to put on your CV.
Oh my God, it's on there.
Yeah,
It's on
that's
there.
amazing.
Yeah.
So me and Simeon had crossed paths a little bit because we both used to work in the ITM building, but I had never
okay.
actually met him properly. So we got talking there, and then we always just kept in touch. And then he was doing a little bit on the Untold show, and he's not there anymore, but he'd gone back. And he was just saying, look, you know, I was always talking to him about different ideas, and he's like, well, you know, I think Untold are looking for some stuff, like send me stuff over. So I sent over a lot, really.
Yeah.
And then Debbie, I'm sure you know Debbie Ramsey.
I've never met Debbie.
Debbie Ramsey.
I don't think I've met her.
Oh,
I know of her, but never met
Okay,
her.
she's like a legend. Wow. She
I love how you're just name dropping.
no, because she's a legend.
Yeah, fair.
She's like icon. And she was like, he sent the idea to her. I guess she was his boss, and then she said she liked the boob idea.
Perfect.
And it needed a bit of development. Then they paired me with Acme.
Yes, good, great
And
company,
then which was really fun. And then it took a long time. It took like 9 months.
Is that a long time in doc world?
Well, some people's docs get commissioned because these are quite quick turnaround. Some people takes like not that long. But I don't know. This just took long. So it got actually officially greenlit in December last year.
Wow.
And then we started shooting in February. And yeah, that's kind of how it was. I was really pleased because I pitched this idea to other channels and they're like, no, it's an old story. No, it feels like
Old story?
Oh yeah, they were all like, oh no,
Jeez.
oh this was like 2 years ago. So the fact that this got the press it did, I was like, haha,
About old story.
right? So yeah, so obviously like shout out to the Channel 4 Untold team because like it's my first ever doc. You know, and we did the screening at Channel 4, which was amazing.
Oh, amazing.
And it was just such a positive. I honestly had the best time.
Good.
And I think for me, what I loved the most about that experience was that I was myself.
Yes.
And so now I know for any TV work I do when I'm not being myself, because when I'm being myself, it should feel like that. It should feel positive and feel good.
That's such a good way to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm like, if it's bad vibes, I'll know.
Yeah.
But I had the best time, and it was just such an impactful thing to be part of. And I'm just so glad that there's this resource out there to help other women.
Amazing.
You know.
Long may it continue.
Amen.
I know this is just
Amima.
the start. I love it. Well, I think it's really important that you have been able to be yourself and get your story out there. But what is something that you wish you knew before getting into the industry that you would have liked a little of a, what's the word? I wish someone had prepared me for the unexpected pressures of the industry kind of thing.
I wish that someone told me that you're not always going to be booked.
Oh, that is something we all need to hear.
Because
Yeah.
it is incredibly humbling when you're just at home.
That's the realist.
On a Monday,
That is
and there's
so
no
real.
work coming in.
So real.
At least not now. It
Yeah,
could change by Wednesday, right?
Yeah, of
That's the thing about
course.
this industry. It could change on Wednesday. It could even change that afternoon.
so
but as
true.
Monday, the dawn sets,
You're like, raw.
Like, no one talks about the fact that, like, actually, you're not always booked, right? And in this industry, their favourite question, so what are you up to? And you're like...
Any event.
Okay.
What are you working on right now?
Exactly.
Oh, nothing.
Nothing. But you have to do style just to answer. Yeah, I'm gonna... It's just too much, right? And that's what... And I think it's one of those moments... I always say to my younger sister, I say that the moments where I've, like, just been, like, totting around, there's obviously things to do at home. Of course, yeah. But... I almost feel like I experience life in its most like rawest form, because you're almost dealing with this, like, you're not waiting, but you're almost like dealing with this, the realization that, like, your career is really not guaranteed, right? And it's like, all you really have is like hope and hard work. Do you know what I mean? Because you're not, when you're actually booked, you're obviously like, you still know that, but you're almost like in your own world of like, yeah, getting an Uber there, book, hair and makeup. And then when it's just like, okay, and then there's nothing next week, it's like, oh, like you almost are like, it's got its highs and its lows.
100%.
When the highs are high, they're great. And when the lows are they can be very low. And that's anything from, like, it could be finances. It could be the fact that maybe you didn't get a job. And in this industry, I suppose, like, no one really tells you 100% why you didn't get a certain job or why. So you never really know the real answer. Yeah. And that can be really tough, because you're like, I want to know and I want to improve. And, like, you're just not going to know. Yeah. So, and I've had many of those instances. And so I would say it's just, coming to the realization that you're not always going to be working. Yeah. Like, most TV presenters will say that.
It's so true.
Like, no one is, like, on screen all the time. Yeah. Like, you just can't be. So that's why digital is good, because if you get digital work, then you're occupied doing that kind of stuff. Exactly. Or if you're writing or whatever, but you're not always going to be on TV unless you're like, I don't know, This Morning. Or you're like GMB. Like, unless you do morning or like news, you're not always going to be on TV.
Gosh, that is such a good realization, because I didn't even consider that. But there have been summers where I'm like, woo, a bit quiet, ain't it?
Yeah, right? Tumbleweed.
What should I do this week?
Yeah, it's like
laundry.
Yeah, and this is why I think in some ways it's good to create stuff to kind of like get you out of that situation. 100%. So it's like, okay, well, when I'm not working, I'm doing this. But I guess sometimes it can also create this thing which I feel like I deal with, which is how, like, when I'm actually like free, which is good, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I need a break. All I know how to do is work in those moments and not rest. Yeah. So
it can be beneficial to force you.
Totally.
To rest.
Totally. Yeah. I think having boundaries as well is really good. Like, people can wait for emails. Like, if you need a minute, so true. Like, take a sec.
So true. What did I expect? Jackie came with real talk, gems, and I'm blown away. Like, this feels like a way overdue chat. And I'm just so grateful that you are you always.
Oh, thanks, Remel.
Because I can't lie, I'm blown away by just how speaking to you is such a breath of fresh air. Because it's just like, she keeps it real, but she's so nice.
Oh, thanks, Remel.
I don't know any other way to put it. Like, you're keeping it real in the nicest way possible. Okay, and that's not always easy for people that have had to work as hard as you have. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Because there are people out there that are bitter.
Really?
Oh my God, there's people out there that are always, I don't know why they got that and did that.
Damn.
Like, there's some people out there like that.
Abundance mindset, honey.
Thankfully, none of them have been on the podcast.
The Lord.
There's a reason why. But no, you are oozing positivity, which is beautiful. And this is why, like I said, so many people fall in love with you. I've been watching your followers just...
Oh, thank you.
the doc dropped and your numbers went up. Yes.
Thank you.
I love
promise
it.
I didn't buy them.
I'm sure you didn't. No, the genuine engagement and interaction, just seeing, like I said, people have told me like, oh, that doc was so good. And I'm like, like when I reposted it, like so many people were like, nah, this was good. I'm like, that's my girl, man. That's my girl.
That's amazing.
No, it's all good. You did it. You literally did it. So let's wrap this bad boy up with, you know it, top 5 tips to make it in the mainstream. Woo! Jackie, hit us up.
Okay, my number 1 tip is be nice to everyone.
Facts.
Be nice to everyone, because I swear you never know who's going to be on top. And they're going to remember you as that nasty fart person that was rude. So be nice to everyone.
Okay.
2, I would say, don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, ask questions. If you're curious about something, maybe you're curious about how a show was made, or maybe you want to know if someone's hiring, just ask. Just ask. I used to literally sit on my hands and be really scared and be like, oh, I want to ask. Just ask. Closed mouths don't get fed.
True.
So ask. I would also say, come up with loads of ideas on your own. Because my, Untold doc was an original idea which I came up with in my spare time. So come up with your own ideas and don't be afraid to pitch them out.
Amazing.
Don't be afraid to pitch them to production companies. Number 4, I would say, I would say be prepared to work really, really hard. Because sometimes the things that we do not create instant results, but they will later. And sometimes we want to give up because we don't see like the numbers going up right now, or maybe it's not something people are talking about, so you think it's not relevant. Keep plugging away at it, because if it's something you truly believe in and that, you think is going to be like a massive topic one day, then keep plugging away, because you never know whether next year this could be the thing everyone's talking about.
So true.
And number 5, I would say, be true to yourself. I would say, don't argue with yourself on things. So if you know something is not for you, it's not for you. Yeah. You might have an agent, you might have a friend that's like, oh, you should definitely do it, it'd be good for you. If your gut and your body's like, this ain't, don't do it.
Your face is saying it all.
No, it's like, don't do it. Because sometimes your body will talk for you and it's like, don't do it. Because what you want to do is you want to create a catalogue of work that you're proud of. You want to look at like how musicians look at albums. You want to look at your work or the things you've created and think, oh yeah, this is a great catalogue. I don't think Beyonce looks at her albums and thinks, oh, I'm ashamed of this album. So think of your work like that. Like in a catalogue, what would that look like? And go for that. Go for like a great body of work. And think of yourself as an artist first.
Woo! Come on. Top 5 tips with Jackie Adedeji. Yes!
Woo!
We love it.
Shake your areolas.
She had to get a little boob reference in there, didn't she? No, we this is why we love you. Keys are 100 in the nicest way.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Where can everyone keep up to date with you, follow you, all that good stuff?
Okay, so you can follow me on Instagram at oh my gosh, it's Jackie. You can watch my Untold doc. Just type on YouTube, My Big Boobs. You can also follow my new newsletter called morethan-a-handful.substack.com. And that is a newsletter for people who have ever felt like weirdos, outsiders, misfits, too much, a handful. This is mini essays every Thursday encouraging you how to be the best version of yourself. And also you can just find me on Instagram. I'm there. Come say hello.
Amazing. Always
love you
hello.
guys.
Love you too, Jackie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm so excited to eat my Nando's now.
Oh my God.
I've been dreaming about the wings.
And that's been Jackie on the Mainstream. Thank you.